Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard, and I want to talk to you today about something called the road less traveled. The idea that we have glued the experience of sex and love together in our culture. The idea that many folks have a difficult time expressing love without actually having sex. Now in Ayurveda, these energies, love and sex, are actually two completely different energies. And we've sort of glued them together as one. I want to talk about how we can separate them out. These energies travel on certain subtle pathways called nadis, or nadi systems in the body. And most of the pathways, the nadis that carry love, they start at the base of your spine and they carry spiritual energy to the top of the head to fulfill you spiritually, emotionally, on many different levels. The energy for sex actually starts at the second chakra, or the pelvic chakra, not at the base of your spine. And it doesn't go to the top, it goes to one of the lower brain centers. So if you have an experience where you're having lots of sex, or when you're young, you activate the sexual pathway first before you activate the love pathway, you can become addicted to sex. You could begin to think that sex and love are the same pathway. In other words, around 17 or 18 years old, there's a kind of an awakening, Ayurvedically speaking, where the subtle energy, spiritual energy, begins to develop. And that spiritual energy chooses one of these very subtle pathways. If you're active having sex before you've activated love, then that energy just jumps on the sex pathway, on the sex train. And that becomes your means of fulfillment. If I love someone, I have sex with them. That makes me feel good. The problem is that pathway never takes you to the very top or the higher center of the brain to bring you real emotional, spiritual fulfillment. It only brings you to lower centers and leaves you wanting more. And I think everybody's had that experience where you have sex, you want more, you want more, you want more. And that's the energy of this nadi called Vajra nadi that doesn't deliver spiritual, emotional fulfillment. And if you have a lot of sex when you're young, before you allow yourself to have a relationship and fall in love, you run the risk of having all your spiritual energy moving on the sex train, the sex nadi, and never feeling content, always wanting, always looking for more. So the idea of having love and getting married before sex was a good idea. I definitely give this lecture to all of my kids, all 6 of them, and let them know that's so important that you become friends and you establish a relationship. You know, I had one patient recently tell me that she was in a relationship and they got very attracted to each other and ended up in bed within a few weeks of meeting each other, and then they broke up. And then the second time they got together years later, they were actually in a relationship for many, many, many months before they had sex. And that relationship is still lasting today. Another patient who told me that they went to a cuddling session where they were actually in a structured environment where people would just cuddle, non-sexually. There were rules and there was someone watching and kind of administrating this experience. And they were cuddling and touching and having sensual touch without it being sexual. And she found a partner who was into non-sexual touch and has been developing a relationship which was so incredibly unique and foreign to her, because every time a man would usually touch her, guys generally just want to jump in the sack, and oftentimes the experience of love and sex just get glued together, and that's what it becomes. But to allow the time to develop this love relationship by touching allows these nadis to actually develop and actually enter into a pathway that is based on true love, not based on sex. So the moral of this story is that, and I think we all know this, is that, but there's Ayurvedic kind of understanding of the subtle energy of the body, that when you spend the time to get to know someone, not just have a physical relationship with them right away, and develop a relationship and allow yourself to open the very delicate petals of your flower, let yourself love them fully without the risk of them wanting to have sex, or all that emotion that's often tied with sex isn't there. It allows you to open the petals of your flower in a very safe way, allows you to experience love in a very safe way, and experience an ability to to experience true love, which is exactly what we're here to have. And that can be had, it can be recreated with the relationship that you already have, but it has to do with us taking actions to love, to bond, to care, to give. And that actually triggers a hormone called oxytocin. It's a hormone that is the bonding hormone. It is the giving hormone. It is the hugging, cuddling, touching hormone. We know that from studies that that is what hormone, that's the hormone that gets produced when you do give and love and care for. And that, from the Ayurvedic perspective, allows the subtle energy to move into a nadi that will deliver energy from the base of your spine to the very top, higher centers in your brain that would actually deliver emotional and spiritual fulfillment. So, great lecture to give your kids. Definitely great concept to recreate an energy of true love with a relationship that you have. Or when you're starting a new relationship, think about laying down new roads, pavement, from the perspective of true love versus then physical attraction. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.